Hey everybody, this is Perch. There's a lot of articles out there right now about the Acolyte. So the Acolyte is a Star Wars Disney Plus series. It was set in the High Republic era of Star Wars and introduced a kind of murder mystery a little bit of two twins who shared some powers, and one of them turned out to be evil and then not. I look. I don't know how to describe this series in a quick way to you, but anyway, the Acolyte came out, and it was the subject of a lot of videos. A lot of people who hated it instantly, and why they hated it, a variety of reasons. I think if you go by the party line, they hated it because it was not true to the Star Wars canon, because it actually contradicted a lot of things that have been established in the Star Wars lore. And that was kind of the party line. If you believe the opposite side, people didn't like it because the director was wanted a gayer Star Wars. I don't even there was some comment made of this is the gayest Star Wars, and I guess I watched the series. I mean, I'll be honest. I kept waiting. I mean, there was the witches council who were gay, I guess, or they were all women, and it was a big lesbian society. I don't know. It put it this way: I tuned into the show expecting to see some scissoring. No scissoring happened. It was I was disappointed by the lack of scissoring in this Disney show, and so I no scissoring was had. Anyway, um, I, I guess it's gay. I guess the show is gay. That's the problem. But anyway, the other kind of side to all this is the show was awful. And when I say awful, obviously this is subjective. It is my opinion. But to me, and I realize it's pedantic. I realize it's I'm harping over the wrong things. But it was at the point where they introduced that the girls grew up in a stone fortress, and the stone fortress was lit on fire and burned down, which was made of stone by burning a girl's journal. That was about the moment where my brain goes, you know what? Fuck it. I can't accept. I'm out. I can't do it. So anyway, that's kind of where it's at. So the Acolyte has been canceled. So the Acolyte got one season on Disney Plus, and people are like, it kind of ended not on a cliffhanger exactly, but clearly the door is open to do more. And, the question would be like, ooh, what's the second season going to be like? And the second season is going to be like, there won't be one. So there will not be a second season of the Acolyte. And now we're getting the parade of people saying, fuck woke, go broke. And we're also getting the people going, well, you know what? I'll put it this way. I'll just read this article, which sums it up better than I could. The Acolyte tried something new. Its cancellation doesn't bode well for the future of Star Wars. Okay? Here's where I always find that people do mental gymnastics to try and, explain their point, whether it's on the SJW or anti-SJW. I can't even say it. We need a better acronym. Come on, people. Whatever side you're on, people always go to these weird links to try and defend their point, when really they could just say, hey, the show sucked, I hated it, or man, I love this show, I'm sorry it's gone. That's what grown-ups did back in the 80s. Gen Xers, you understand, this is what we used to do back before we felt the need to be justified by every goddamn thing we did. Fuck millennials, am I right? Anyway, Leslie Halen's show was flawed, but it explained what Star Wars could be. Without big swings like that, it's hard to know where Star Wars goes from here. I'm going to translate that in this way. I would like a Maserati. One day, maybe I will buy a Maserati and I will drive it, and I will get super drunk and then drive it into a wall. I'll survive the accident, but it's a shame that I can't now buy an Aston Martin and drive it into another wall. That's how this all feels to me. It's like, look, just because you could take a big swing, if you're not talented, it doesn't mean you should. So anyway, it says, There is every indication that, as of San Diego Comic-Con just a few weeks ago, Lucasfilm was planning a future for the Acolyte. No. Instead, on August 19th, Deadline first reported that Disney Plus Star Wars prequel series was canceled. Okay. And there's a lot, and this article goes on to really explain, what a flaw it is and what a shame it is, and the fact that it was canceled because, are you ready for it? Internet trolls went after this show and they review bombed it, and as a result, a multi-billion-dollar company said, God damn it, we're helpless against people who review bomb Rotten Tomatoes, so I guess we have to cancel it. That's where we are. I'll read this paragraph. Most importantly, there's a chilling feeling with this cancellation, one that's genuinely foreboding. The Acolyte was far from a perfect show. You kind of in the article there. If it's far from a perfect show, what are you saying there? If a show is good, you say the show is pretty good. Could do, has a lot of room to improve. But if you say it's far from a perfect show, it's a fancy way of saying the show sucked. And it did. The show was stupid. Not because it was gay, not because it made no sense, but because it was dumb. It says the Acolyte was far from a perfect show. It had pacing issues. Yeah, no shit. It had pacing issues. I would have reordered certain episodes completely. Well, good news, article writer. Maybe you should get to Hollywood. Anyway, some tonal inconsistencies. Yeah. And character motivations that seem to change on a dime just because they had to. These are all, you're explaining why the show sucked. But it was also the single most ambitious and exciting Star Wars series since season 1 of Andor. That was a year ago. It was the most exciting show since Andor. You mean less than a year ago? Cool. Is that the litmus test we're doing for shows now? Oh man, it's a shame this show was canceled. It was the most exciting thing they did since 2 series ago, less than a year ago in Andor. We're gonna pass right over Ashaka, I guess. Whatever. And as IndieWire's Proma Koshla noted, who the fuck gives about who cares about this person? The most that Star Wars had generated online buzz since CGI Luke Skywalker fired up his green blade with Baby Yoda. With Baby Yoda in 2020. 4 years ago. What the fuck are God damn it? What the fuck are you people? The entire stretch of our imagination for these properties is not even 4 years, 3.5 years ago? What the fuck's wrong with you? Anyway, a lot of people are commenting on this show, so let me give you the spoiler as to why this show was canceled. Are you ready? Cost $180 million. That's why. It was too expensive. That's why. Look, you could if this show cost $5 million, there would be a season 2. Regardless of what, YouTuber, Geek Wire 5000 Insider Scoop 2000 says, the Acolyte would get a season 2 if it cost $5 million. It would get a season 2 if it cost $15 million. But when it costs $180 million, you got to have a return on investment. And when you don't have a return on investment, they cancel your ass, and that's what happened here. You could call it the woke. You could call it, go woke, go broke. You could call it too gay. You could call it any number of things. But the answer is too expensive. And when it's too expensive and it doesn't generate revenue, it gets canceled, and that's what happened here. Now you could say, well, the reason it didn't make a lot of money is too gay. Sure, whatever. But when you spend a lot of money on something, you have to have a cost. You have to have a return. And when you don't have a return on investment, you fail. That's what you got. And that's what we have here. I think that, look, The Acolyte was not a good show, and it cost too much money. Ergo, it got canceled. The lesson here is put more effort into your show. I know a lot of you disagree with me on this, but if you have a well thought out, smart show, and it happens to feature the gay or whatever is being blamed for this show's cancellation, it can work. But when you have a show that, look, even the article defending it said, well, it's not perfect. It had some problems. Like, the character motivation seemed to change and it had no plot and the episodes were in the wrong order. Yeah, those are big problems. Those are big ass problems. So you can make it as complicated as you want because of the current climate of social media and everything else. But when you make it complicated and it costs a lot of money and it doesn't bring in a return on investment, you're dead. And thus ends the Acolyte. Are you going to miss this show? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. But this is we're making all this way more complicated than we need to. Costs a lot of money. The end. Thanks for listening.